Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Some jazzy music here. Turn it down just a bit, though. All right, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing today? We are going to do hotkeys, global hotkeys. We touched on it, I think 2 streams ago. We were playing with window transparency, and the global hotkey was kind of going to be the main way we could interact with our app once it took over the screen effectively. So if you make your app full screen, or if you use transparency to where you can click through the app, then you start to lose ability to actually interact with the app. So you need a way to resurface it so you can interact, and global hotkeys seem to be kind of the way to handle that. Put my phone on silent here. So we're gonna try doing that. I also want to play around with the full screen, which I think in my mind sort of fits in with the idea of also doing hotkeys, because if you use full screen, you potentially want hotkeys to be able to like exit out of it. So yeah, I don't think I've actually committed the window transparency stuff yet either. So effectively, we'll end up buttoning up this app so it's usable when you switch into like pass-through mode through the global hotkeys. And then I still do want to do system tray stuff. I think that's going to end up being next week. I want to make sure that I've got enough time for it. And I don't know that today's going to be a super long stream. So I figured knock out the hotkey stuff and get this committed. And then we can go from there. All right. So the global shortcuts used to be in the main app and then got pulled out into a separate plugin. Hotkeys is very interesting, especially in V2. Oh, is there something specific that interests you about it, Lasha? I don't know if it has changed much, so I'm definitely curious what, when you say especially in V2, I'm particularly curious what about V2 has made it more interesting to you. So when you implement the global shortcuts, we are in the beta docs, and there is a in the features and recipes section, there's a global shortcut. We have to add this separate package. We have a Tauri ad now, which is pretty interesting. But we have the ability to implement it either on the JavaScript side of things or on the Rust side of things. And if we take a look at our app, we don't have too much going on in the JavaScript side of things. So I think it probably makes sense to put this on the Rust side of things, just to kind of keep a bit of an abstraction there. So we've got this like generated command that we still have in there. It feels like it makes sense to put these in. It's a tiny little bit more code, but it feels like it makes sense to put this in the setup. So we'll go ahead and do. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so we can add the guest bindings. I think I'm actually going to. Well, let's try the automatic. I'm curious what that's going to end up doing. And I don't know if it matters if we're using the Rust side of things or the NPM side of things. Okay, so it is actually going to install the npm dependency. I don't think I actually need that if I am just doing it on the Rust side of things. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. Technically this is going to give us all the latest stuff, but we would have to do like an npm update. I'm going to do npm outdated because we haven't touched this in a couple weeks. We've had a few releases, so let's see. API is on 5. CLI is on 9. Just so we get the latest stuff here. Shell is on 2. I don't think we actually need the shell, but I'm just gonna leave it in there for right now. And then the rest is other things that I don't care as much about. Okay. Do an npm install. And I suppose we can look at the same here. This should give us the latest. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a cargo update. And we did get this. So it doesn't work on Android and iOS, which makes sense. Now, if we look at the manual, effectively the manual option to install this, it's installed this for us. We should have. Oh, it will it's going to install it because of this, and we've got that target in there. I don't know if this needs to be under the features or if this is supposed to be under dependencies though. You can add the dependencies on the dependencies section if you do not. You do not target mobile. Got it. Ah, okay. So it has it like built into it. So based on the target, it's still part of the dependencies. It's its own section, specifically not targeting mobile. So we could technically move that into the dependency section because we're not actually targeting mobile with this. That's fine. So now if our usage for Rust is this, we should be able to basically just copy and paste this. This initialize plugin, I'm guessing, is more for the if we're just doing it through the JavaScript side of things. It did add it in there already for us. If we do it here, builder new build. Does it actually do the same? Builder with handler. It looks like, yeah, plugin build. So if we are doing it through Rust, I don't think we actually, I think we could just do it through the setup and we don't need to do it through the plugin part of it. So we got a cargo check running right now. What keybind would we want? I'm guessing some like Control N is a more common one. Ideally, I think I would want to make something or use something that isn't going to necessarily clash with the other main programs that you likely use with this. So if we have this app full screened to where you're expecting to draw over things, you would likely want to be like a browser would be something that you'd likely be drawing over, and that's going to be like Control N, Control T, Control Shift, each of those, or Command, I guess, on Mac. So maybe, and like same for Control F. What do we do? I want to do L. Maybe I? Is I a good one? Control I. So this is going to all it's doing is printing right now. So if the shortcut is fired, it's just printing that line. So if we go ahead and run this, npm run Tauri dev. We did play around with this the last time on Android. So the idea here is that I think we want to be able to trigger full screen and or be able to go back and forth between the, like we're going to be affecting the window itself. So it'll end up being like a toggle for pass-through mode or not. All right. So like we've got this button to do click-through mode right now. And if we do Control I, so we're getting the hotkey reading. And this is always going to stay on top right now because the window is configured to do that. And in our code, we have this set ignore cursory events. So that would be one of the things that we would want to toggle. And we're going to need a handle to the window. I guess this is the other bit of it too. We have, let's see, app, okay. I get to do a little bit more Rust, which I haven't done too much of. So I think that'll be fun. So there's an app handle. Let's actually look at the docs on this. We are interested in the window. Window state. Oh, I guess that's another thing too. We need to... I guess we don't need to do permissions. Permissions are only JavaScript side of things, right? So we might need to actually, or we might not need to worry about the access control list at all, right? I think so. Let's look at the list of references and the Rust API. And I think this is going to be on window. Set menu, remove menus. So we have some booleans for the different states. Available monitor. Here, so maximize and minimize. That's going to be something that we want to come back to. Set effects, set size. Here. This one, ignore window cursor events. So it's going to be on the window. And that comes from window. Can we create the web app by using the Tauri framework? If possible, how? So I believe what you're asking is when we're making our app with like the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, can we make that with Tauri? High level answer is no. If it's a little bit more about the language that you want to be able to write in, you can do your whole app in Rust if you're using a Rust-based framework that would then compile WASM that is run in the browser. So if you use something like Leptos, Leptos plus Tauri, you could write effectively your whole app in Rust, and the web app part of it would be initialized through WASM. So there is anything that the browser supports is effectively something that will work within Tauri. A little bit of an asterisk, but and WASM is one of the newer bits that is supported through the browser. WebAssembly, abbreviated WASM. So WebAssembly, ASM. And the idea is that this is it's a binary instruction format that multiple languages can compile to. Rust has been one of the big supporters of it initially, but you can use other languages too. I think C supports it now. C and like Python maybe. Just Python? I don't remember. But so WASM pack. WASM pack will take some Rust code and build it into WASM, which you could then run in the browser. Does that answer your question? So we need to look for the window struct. We have an app. Here, let's move this over here. We have an app, and this is the immutable app, of which we have the runtime setup manager handle an app or run setup. So what's the app handle have? I think this is the bit that I need, that I would like to have more practice with. I can look at the docs.rs and I can find like the struct or whatever that I need, but reaching that point, that's still something that I haven't like quite connected in my head. Okay, so like here, this gives us the handle, and then once we have a handle, this is the bit that, like, to get the window, like this is the bit that we effectively end up needing for our situation, I think. So we can We can use the global shortcut. We are setting up the shortcut and then we're doing the plugin handle. And then we're moving the app. So if we do this, I think we can use the moved version. And I don't think we need the window menu builder. But we effectively need the window dot where was it? Set effects, set full screen, set cursor events, and that's going to take a boolean. So we should be able to do something. Whoop. I can't, what did I do with my window here? I am mixing up my computers here. Shortcuts on Mac versus Windows are messing with my head here. Oh my god, I did it again. What did I do with it now? I use the same keyboard with my Mac and my Windows box. And so the keyboard shortcuts end up being slightly different to do the same sort of functionality. It messes with my head so much. So the set ignore cursor events. Let's set it to false first. And we can take this off. Let's put that below, I guess. So this is just going to turn it off if we fire this shortcut. And okay, so we were getting this print before. I don't know if we need all of this window builder stuff. Label editor. We just need a handle to that actual window. So I don't know if we need we might be able to just do something like the window. Ooh. So if we say Tauri window, what is a window? Window is a struct. Okay. R is the runtime. Okay. Yeah, so I think this is actually gonna work better. So we just need impl our runtime window. Okay, this is actually gonna work better. This impl. There we go. Because we just need a handle to that window, I think. No method name get window for reference app handle. So that's coming from app. It is moved. I don't know if this closure is going to end up working. We might need to pull this in. Oh, it's in there already. Okay. No method named get window found for mutable reference Tauri app. So that's in setup. Tauri builder default. We're on yeah, okay, we're definitely on 2.0. That's interesting. So if we say app, this also uses the get window. I mean, it might be something with it being moved in the closure. Okay, so this on menu event, this was the one that we looked at. This sets up a handle because it needs the handle for the menu item. And this, I think, is creating a whole new window. Okay. Is there any other examples here? Get window. This feels like I think that's what we want to end up doing. So this clones the window. It's listening, and then it's unlistening here. So it's entirely possible we need to do something like that. Let's try getting it working without the shortcuts. I'm wondering if the shortcuts are messing with it a little bit. No method named get window for mutable reference. So there's something that's making that immutable. I mean, it looks like it might be mutable by default, but I don't know why that's not. Use Tauri manager. Oh, look at that. Tauri builder default. Setup. This is specifically configured for the desktop, which I think is fine. Do we need to kind of curious if it's an older version of the Rust side of things. Let's see. It should be like a, was it Tauri or I thought there was a command to update. Plugin development. This is actually some. I saw somebody else comment about this. I think this is going to be another stream. The plugin development. I think that is something that would be interesting to get into, especially for V2. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing nothing. I thought it was just cargo update. So source Tauri. Oop, I'm in there already. So upgrade. I think I did cargo update. I don't know if I've done upgrade yet. So I think there was a RAI update or two. It's possible that we've pulled this app handle up within the betas. Updating index. Okay. So we should be able to we care about the trade implementations for okay. Application handle. We were seeing these before, like the emit and emit2. Get window. Patch a single window from the manager. Available and create feature unstable only. Get window. Okay. So that would be it. Looks like we've got some examples that are using unstable features, which is why it's not saying that's available. Yeah. So this would be, I think, in Tauri. I think for this, I'm fine using the unstable. But this should give us a handle to the window. That looks a lot better. So now in our setup, it's essentially setting it to false. And we want to be able to do a toggle. So if we did, so right now it's actually not going to toggle, it's just setting it to false immediately. What is this saying? Unused result. Okay, that makes sense. Sure. We're going to go ahead and re-enable this. And we might, since this app has moved, I think we're probably going to want to switch to this. And oh, we've got it in there already. Okay, so when it's detected, that should turn it off. Okay. And right now we're doing an unwrap, and you'll note if you unwrap, you can potentially get a panic. A panic is when like your program would crash if something happens. So when we're sort of in this prototyping, like getting things working stage, I'm perfectly comfortable using like an unwrap, expecting it to potentially panic. We can always come back through and deal with these unwraps more cleanly once our code is working. So now if we hit the we have a global hotkey set up for Control I. So if we hit Control I, it's going to print in our terminal that we've hit Control I, and it's going to set the cursor ignore events to false. So we get that. Now if we click here, this button turns it off on in the web view JavaScript side of things. And now I can't interact with this window at all. You can see that all my cursors are like bleeding through the app itself. So if I hit it again, it should turn it back off. There we go. So it seems to be working. Now what we want to do is a toggle to be able to flip back and forth between them. This works now, like having a button in the UI is probably fine. And I mean, we can clean this button up so it's nicer in the future, but this works for the moment. Is there a Boolean that'll tell us if it is or not? So full screen maximized is visible. And I think we'll want to clear off these the window borders as well, but destroy set. I'm not seeing anything that'll give us a Boolean to know if, like, which state it's in. So we might potentially just need to do a global shortcut for each state, a pass-through state and then a interaction state. Pop-up menu, inner, outer, because we got it is full screen, minimized, maximized, focused, decorated, resizable. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. So we might be able to potentially be able to do it ourselves. Do we have anything on here that is gonna help us out? Clone, config. So on menu event, on window event. So we might be able to just like save the state somewhere. State, what's the state? Receives the managed state for type T. Okay. Go to state. So we can get a state. I don't know how this works. Let's try const. Oh, wrong language. Let state equals. Okay, so state unknown. And this is going to be a what? So like any of these states. We've got a bunch of these like is. Source. Window self.window.dispatcher. So set resizable. So we've got this. I'm actually curious, is this dispatcher gonna work? Window.dispatcher. We have this self. I think we've got a handle to that window. So if we do like window.dispatcher, do we have access to some of this? So like if we want to do, let's look at the is maximized. Okay, so there's actual functions for these, for impulse. So we might need to try to use this state thing. So this is an effect state. Add state to the state managed by the application. Okay, so that might be different. Yeah, I think that state is different than what I was expecting it to. It's not like the window state. Okay. Well, what we're going to do right now, we're going to say I is interact, so it's going to turn it off, and we're going to say we'll do U. Control U is going to put it in pass-through mode. Else if shortcut equals Control U. True. So it's not a toggle, but it'll get us part of the way there. Thanks, Char. I'm gonna try not to butcher your name here. I feel like I always attempt to say it, and I feel like I always end up butchering it. Chawaib. Glad you can make the live stream. No worries though. I'm always happy if you are able to catch the replay as well. So now we have pass through. We should be able to go back and forth. Whoa. So this is part of the other problem. I hit U and that opens up the source. So this works. I can go back and forth between. If I hit U, it's already it happens to be an event already. So let's say I maybe shift, control, let's say shift I. Is that already something? Yeah, it opens up the dev tools. What other key should we use? Why would somebody use transparent window? So the thing that we were playing around with was, this is Excalibur. This is both an open source project and a website that allows you to make diagrams. So like we can make diagrams here and like free draw. And what we were playing around with was, if, come on, resize. Basically the idea is that we can draw on our screen. So if we would make this full screen, I can talk about code, like open this up, talk about code, highlight it, and clear. Okay, so use Excalibur and Obsidian. Yeah. So that's what we were playing around with. I think those type of interactions would be one of the reasons to use transparency. You can do so. Like you can make, like you don't need to necessarily make the whole app transparent. So you can use, and I mean there's caveats here too, because I think transparency is a private API in Mac. So like this might only be something that you could do on Windows, presuming you want to put stuff in the App Store. But you can make like your main app opaque and just have like the header transparent, or have some transparency built into it, you know. So it, like, some of it's probably design aesthetic type of thing. There's potentially apps where you would want to be able to like reference material at the same time, where having some level of transparency would allow you to like put two windows next to each other or something. Yeah, maximize window. I mean, there's use cases. It's definitely not going to be something you put in every app though, especially if you're limited by APIs. Like if you can only put it in Windows apps, or you're limited by not putting it in a Mac app, it's gonna have it's gonna have specific use cases. So that's what we were playing around with here. The part of it was, I thought this was kind of an interesting idea, but also I wanted to see what APIs we were able to use, and like where we would run into issues if we were trying to use these on mobile. So we spun this up, got it working with this idea, and then we tried it on mobile last stream. So the idea is that the ability to do multiple windows or different types of interactions on mobile is going to be inherently different relative to desktop. So we were sort of like playing around with those ideas. I think this is kind of just a fun idea for teaching code, and like this is potentially something that we could turn on stream, and then a select few amount of people could actually, like draw on my screen, which would be kind of fun. But we needed some of the interaction to actually, the click-through mode. Lower the music volume. Is it bad? Okay. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. It's always a little bit hard to tell. Relative volumes. Okay. So we've got a shortcut. It is working to, we have a shortcut that allows us to go in and out, but we are currently stomping on one of the other shortcuts. So I was going to do Control-Shift-I isn't going to work. If we do, what else could we do? So you're using Control-I, maybe Control-K. Control-K seems to be fine. Let's try that. And I mean, we can always change this later or make it something that's configurable. All right, I think that's good. Control I, Control K. That should give us a rebuild. Now we should be able to go back and like swap back and forth between the interaction modes. Okay, so I can click and drag in here. I can hover over these if I hit Control K. Doesn't seem to have done anything. I can still click. Interesting. That doesn't seem to have worked. Control K. Key is K. Key I, modifier Control. Control K. Ignores the window cursor events. That appears to be what I want to be doing. Try saving again, just in case. Doing Control K doesn't seem to work though, so it's entirely possible it's getting captured by something else. Control K. Nope. Okay. Maybe K isn't going to work. Should we try J? Nope. Yeah, see, so like this is the problem. Control J is opening up APIs within that browser window. Let's Control P, just the print menu, U. Let's try H. And I can probably rename this too. I don't need it to have. I don't need to call it Control H shortcut. I can do it. Call it the hide shortcut or something. Do you have a separate front for the mobile? So we just tested it on mobile. I don't think we can actually do anything with mobile on this one, just because the transparency doesn't currently work on mobile. So there's not a strong use case for it. Okay. So click-through mode. It seems like it's something with potentially with the focus. So right now I can't interact with it at all. I do Control I, and now I can interact with it. If I do Control H, I still can interact with it. Control H, but Control H is in this program now, so you're talking in general for Tauri. Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's very dependent on the app. So when you're specifically for this, when you're thinking about your app, when you're doing a website in general, ideally you want to be making it responsive, right? Because you have multiple potential window sizes that you could be rendering this at. So there's going to be a spectrum of how website static website is it relative to app like is it? And I think potentially the more app like it is, the more you might have some expectations that how you're interacting with it or how it looks is going to be different on mobile. So like there's sort of an inherent design for Android and an inherent design for iOS. So that could potentially warrant having different front ends, or at the very least have different like builds for the mobile versus the front, or the mobile versus desktop. You could do something like just change the styles a little bit, like change button styles, change make the UI more flat or add shadows or something for mobile versus the desktop app. I think if you're really diving in that deep to where you want very different mobile versus desktop apps, I mean, at what point, if it's strictly visual, you should be able to handle that through the front end. I could see that being maintainable. If you're doing like deep native functionality, I think it's still to be determined at what point it might make sense to have a completely separate app. I don't know. I'm definitely going to be curious to see like what people are able to achieve with the mobile side of things within Tauri. It's guaranteed that there's going to be some limitations. There's no way that that's going to be applicable to literally every type of app. So at what point do we start hitting those boundaries? It's going to be what sort of ends up dictating where you'd make that separation. Okay. You know what? We weren't registering the shortcut. Ha. Okay, so I think H is probably fine. Let's try H. So we still have H set up. That should rebuild. And then let's see, window, yeah. So now I should be able to do H. Yep, there we go. So we're passed through. I'm not interacting with it at all. I hit I am then able to interact with it. So we can go back and forth. I am talking about the code here, I do Control I. Now I can highlight something specific. We are talking about this part of the code right here. And now I can go hit H again and I can go back through and start writing or comment out a piece of it. There we go. So I think that's going to end up working for what we want to do here. Now full screen would be the other bit. If we do Control F, yeah, so Control F is currently, let's try it. If we say Control F, that is going to give us, call that full screen. Currently, Control F pulls up the browser functionality for find it within the app. I don't know if that works the same in release mode. I think it does. But if we basically and we're going to call it actually a little bit different here. We're going to say maximize shortcut. Maximize shortcut. If we clobber the shortcut, basically, how's that going to work? So I guess this is the other bit that we can do too. There's the exclamation mark. I think we can do that other than the unwrap. Does this work? Oop. So I think this technically works too. Does it work? No, it doesn't. This function should return result or, oh, so that's only for result or option. Well, what are we returning here? This returns result. Okay, I mean, whatever. I thought that would have worked. I thought that returns a result, but it's fine. So we're gonna maximize shortcut. Let's try Control F. So Control F, that would be clobbering our shortcut. Now, all we've done is register the shortcut. Oop. I think I saved too many times here. All that's going to do is register the shortcuts. So it's not going to actually do anything yet. I just want to see if it actually clobbers the browser or takes precedence over the browser shortcut of Control F. So it should be registered. So if we hit Control F, it appears, I'm pressing Control F right now. It doesn't appear to be doing the browser functionality for Control F. So is maximized is going to give us a Boolean, and there's a maximize. So there's a maximize. There should also be a full screen. Yep. Because I want to set full screen. It determines if the window should be full screen. So we can do else if shortcut equals maximize shortcut. We're gonna say let I guess we'll say maximized equals window dot is, because it's not maximized, it's full screened. Full screened. Let's change this. Full screen shortcut. Is there a way to deactivate all these shortcuts, or do we have to overwrite those by hand? Oh, like the browser shortcuts? That's a good question. When we're done with this, we'll try I think we should be able to do a release build, and let's double check to see if those shortcuts are working or not. I think they work by default. And offhand, I don't know of a way to disable them all. But let's put a pin in that and we'll come back to it and then we'll try it. So that should give us a result. So I think we can do this, which will then give us a Boolean. And we can say window.set full screen. And we are going to do the opposite. Wait, is it bang? So this should be a Boolean. Set full screen. Is it literally just complaining about the semicolon here? Full screen. Yep, okay, it should be handled. That's fine. So register returns a result. This returns a result. It's that like closure result thing that, yeah. Unwrap. Okay. And we want the opposite. Is it so in, yeah, okay, it is. I did have it right. You need to deactivate by hand. You don't know if someone already opened an issue requesting this functionality. Okay. Yeah, that I think would be nice functionality, especially if you're like really diving into the shortcuts, just having some of those built in. I mean, I guess some of them are potentially nice, but I could definitely see a strong use case for just deactivating them all. So this should give us a toggle. We are going to grab the current state of full screenness and flip-flop between them. So now if we hit Control F, full screen, not. Full screen, not. There we go. What's a little bit janky is that in our specific use case, full screen versus not is sort of, it moves the actual window, so the part that we were drawing on doesn't. Whoop. Okay, I want click-through mode. All right, so I want to close this window. So now I'm doing this. Whoop. I'm editing the code here. And what you're seeing is what I'm seeing, like written over the top of it. Why do you get why do you get scroll bars in full screen? So it's full screening the window. So the window itself, like you can see, like this top bar here is up at like at the top of the screen. Which I actually can't interact with right now. What was my shortcut now? H. Okay, so now I should be able to. Does H not work right now? My H shortcut doesn't work. Set cursor true. Control H. Interesting. So H doesn't seem to work. F does. Anyways, there we go. Now that bar on the top went away. Interesting. If you look, the app itself has the scroll bar. So it's just I didn't get the height quite correct in my actual web view. So the window itself is going full screen, but my web view is the thing that contains the scroll bar. So if if I would fix my CSS to where the content would be full height, regardless of size, and not have the scroll bar, then that would go away. Which we could probably do here real quick, but so now H. I don't know why the Control H shortcut is not working. It seems like. So I went ahead and hit save, so it's gonna recompile and bring up the app again. It doesn't seem that shortcut is actually firing. Control H. Let's do a print line here just in case. And I guess we can just say shortcut fired. Whoop. Whoop. Short fired, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not sure why that's not firing though. So okay, click through mode. We can click in there. Each. It fired. Oh, was I doing it backwards? Interact, each. Non-interacting. There we go. Okay. F. I. Interacting mode. There we go. Okay. So if I go back and forth, interacting, hiding, click through mode. Okay, sweet. It does work. It does work. So now if I in full screen, you don't get the shadow. So I actually kind of don't mind the shadow on there. You should put tooltips on the buttons to remember which hotkey does what. Yeah, right. And like, so part of what I'm doing too here is the, come on, if I can make the window just a little bit bigger. There we go. This header up at the top here, which I can't highlight, and the button are outside of the container, and the rest of this is actually just the Excalidraw UI directly. We're just literally rendering the Excalidraw. If we look at our app.tsx, so like this would be something where ideally you probably want to edit or otherwise embed this within the Excalidraw UI, because having this stuff at the top isn't great. So like being able to drag off of some of these buttons would be kind of nice. Like add a drag handle in here would be nice. And some of these bits make less sense in here, I think, but you know. So let's see, div, class name, and container. Let's see if we can get rid of that scroll bar real quick. The container should be, yeah, I thought DVH was enough to give it the full height, but we might need to do like a reset in here somewhere. Let's go ahead and look at our CSS. Pull this over. Yeah, so our body has a little bit of margin on it. Body. Am I doing any reset here? So at the root. And how am I doing my CSS in this? Again, I think I'm just importing it. Is that right? So I'm importing app CSS. Main, I'm importing styles. Okay. So I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm not really using this app CSS anymore. And let's do in here, I'm gonna do a body and reset the margin. Body. Margin 0 pixels. There we go. No more scroll bar. So now we should be able to do full screen, no scroll bar. There we go. So it was just my CSS. We were doing DVH, which ends up that's the vertical height, considering if your app window has a bar at the bottom. So on a mobile, that now has the bar at the bottom. So that's why we're using DVH, which is a newer CSS API. But then my body had a little bit of margin on it, which was adding that scroll bar. So we're able to toggle back and forth, full screen to not, and we can do pass through mode versus not. we can now getting that state would be the only other thing if we're in pass through mode or not. What's the VS Code extension that shows the file size at the import? That would be. Oh, wait, did it? Okay, I thought it was showing. That's okay. So this is the other thing. I right now am in my VS Code window. If I hit Control F, I'm actually like the global shortcut is actually blitzing the shortcut in VS Code as well. So that's potentially something to think about. It is literally global. What are we gonna do? Oh yes, VS Code extension. Okay. That is import cost. Is this the? I think this is the link to it. Marketplace link. There you go. So, yeah, I like that. I like having an idea of what I'm importing. So I think this pretty much covers. I think it pretty much covers everything that we wanted to play around with here. We might need to like change the shortcuts here. I am gonna switch this to just make them consistent. We're gonna call this one handle cursor, and we're gonna say ignore cursor. That would allow us to come back through and be able to configure the key. I'm gonna remove this print line, and then the full screen. That's gonna be the hard bit. It would be nice to have a keyboard shortcut, and it is potentially something we can make configurable. I guess if we were to make it configurable, that would probably lend itself more to wanting, or for it to make sense to run it through JavaScript, because setting it in JavaScript and allowing the user to configure it in the UI, you're doing it all in the same spot. And then you could just store that in the browser, which would probably be sufficient. But right now we're just gonna have it hard-coded. It's fine. I don't think we can use Control F though. Control I, Control H. It's hard to know like what hotkey would actually work. I guess we could do like Control F 12. Does F12 work for these? I don't know if these are actually key code options. Nope. So there's key F. We do like no, so Q pulls stuff up. say short, control P. Nope. Shortcuts. Ooh. Oh wow, okay. It pulled up a whole PDF. Interesting. So if my intent is to, at least my personal intent is to use this as something for on stream, we probably don't want to override any of these. So we could do Control O opens, right? Control Shift O does something. Do they have any numbers? I guess they don't really have any numbers. F8 has interaction. 9 Shift does. There's a bunch of Shift and F keys. Yeah, so Control I already does something. So we wouldn't be able to use that either. I don't see any like control on the F keys. So what's the arrows, audio? I don't know how to do the F keys. Digit? Oh, just F. Okay, so F 12. And if we did, oh, does it not like that? No variant or associated named. Okay. Yeah, there's codes for those. Is it just 12? Oh, there's a 12. Okay. Well, I'm not sure why I was showing an error. 11 and F10. That probably would be sufficient for now. I think that should work. So now Control F10 goes back and forth and ignore and handle. There we go. So we've got 3 shortcuts now. We have an F10, we have an F11, and we have an F12, of which we are respectively ignoring cursor events, we are handling cursor events, and we're toggling full screen. We grab the Boolean of is it full screen or not, and then we do the opposite of it to set it. So this should handle all of the use cases for this specific interaction, and it allows us to then toggle this into full screen and literally right on the screen. And we could theoretically then also handle multiplayer with this too, to where other people can be like, ta-da, this is what we're talking about, and right on the screen. Obviously, we wouldn't allow everybody to do that because I'm going to get things that I don't want to show on stream shown on stream. Somebody's gonna start drawing stuff I don't want drawn. But yeah, I think it would be pretty cool. And I think this pretty much covers everything, yeah, because the internet is evil, right? Yeah, trolls. The trolls are out there. We can probably get rid of that the header now. Being able to drag it would be nice, but I don't think that's too big of a deal. And like that's not too bad as far as like covering things, even with just like we could remove their default like if we were just literally doing this. So I don't have a way to actually move it around now, but if I'm basically just doing this, it's not too big of a deal. And it's not covering up too much of the UI, so I still can like, and actually it works pretty well with the fact that if I do a stroke width like this, sloppiness. I mean, it works pretty decent. Where's the colors? I suppose I can choose different colors here, can't I? Yeah, so like I can make that white, which sticks out better for the interaction that we're doing on top of this stuff. I think this works pretty good though. Like it's not covering up too much. If we could like pull out a little bit more of this UI, it might be nice. But I think this actually covers the use case pretty well, which is pretty sweet. And then I guess locks pieces of it. I don't know what the lock actually does. But like we could pull in full laser pointer. That's actually kind of cool. So I can talk about bits of this and then go back and forth. I just need to remember my actually events. So I think it probably makes sense to just remove this then. And I'm not really going to have the ability to drag it around, which I think is probably going to be fine. Because this container ends up basically being 100% height. But if I'm generally just toggling it, it's gonna work. And then I would just need, it would be nice if I had a way to like clear this. Oop. And then remembering these shortcuts would be nice too. So if I do an actual reset, I get confirmation, but then it literally whites out my whole screen because now I can't get out of let's see. Yeah, so now I'm in here. Okay. Now I'm actually gosh. Save. Is it still capturing the events? There we go. Full screen wasn't working before. There we go. Got it. We got it. But the problem is the reset actually resets the default canvas that we have set here. Why wasn't the save working? Oh, the save was working, but I wasn't in the Rust side of things. This is what I was doing. You just brightened my day. Good one. Yeah, sorry, I probably blinded everybody. I thought I could get out of it quick, but oh well. So we're actually like setting the, yeah, not being able to drag this is annoying. Yeah, it would be nice to try to like edit the UI a little bit. Like directly inside of it rather than just having to use this whole piece. But you know, that's something like it's at a point where we can play around with it and you know, nudge the Excalibur devs and be like, hey, this would be cool to do. Because I think some of those interactions would be better directly in the UI rather than this like, you know, random button above it. I think that pretty much covers everything we wanted to do though. We've handled transparency, a bunch of different like window interactions, multiple web views, multiple windows. So you could have multiple windows with multiple web views and transparency of those. And then when we start getting in transparency, I think handling the global shortcuts, which we just did today, and full screening back and forth ends up becoming a bigger interest, at least for the use cases that I can think of. So I think sort of and coming back around to who was it that said like what's the use case for, okay, Choi had asked why would somebody use transparent window. The next thing that I think we can probably do it next week here, but the next thing that I want to do is a system tray app. So that might be a situation where depending on your interaction with the system tray, you might open a window that has a widget, and that widget could have some transparency. So it might be a widget that shows up for, you know, 5 seconds and then disappears or something. Like a toast or a menu that pops up, and being able to have some transparency in there where it's not necessarily just a square, I think would be an interesting interaction. So that's probably going to be next week, or at least if not next week, the week after. And then still working on bringing on some guests for some other topics, but that's GDBD. So keep an eye on the main channel and, you know, click that notification button when we get those all scheduled. Hopefully soon here. I think that covers everything that we're going to look at today, though. So if nobody has any other questions, that's where we're going to call it. Have a good rest of the week. Happy Tuesday. Keep doing Tauri stuff and experimenting. We might actually do some other topics. Depending on when the like full V2 release comes out and how long the audit takes and whatnot, we might temporarily switch topics off of Tauri for a little bit, but we'll see. That's all TBD though. I really need to like schedule all this stuff further ahead. If y'all have any ideas of other topics we should explore, we've had a lot of good suggestions. I think I had mentioned this earlier. Somebody had suggested doing a stream on plugin dev. So if you wanted to write a plugin, what does that look like? And I think especially in V2, that's an interesting way to architect or manage / set up your app. If there's this piece of functionality that makes sense as a very separate abstracted piece, you could actually do it as like write it as a plugin, and keep that functionality very separate and encapsulate it that way, which is definitely something that I think is worth exploring. So great suggestion there. That is probably going to be something that we do here within the next month or so. So keep them coming. Drop any thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week. Bye, everybody.